Welcome back to The Lost podcast, a podcast where we talk about CDH and we get lost in the sauce. It's just me today. It's 6/29/25, so that's June 29th, 2025. That's a Sunday. It's 9:40 p.m. Over the weekend, so the 20th, 29th. I played in two tournaments. The Send It Summer tournament right here. Um, yeah, Send It Summer. It was 64 players, I believe. Uh, we should be able to find that out actually. Yeah, 64 players. Awesome tournament. Really enjoyed it. And then today at like 2 p.m. we had something called a High Roller Invitational. And I'm just going to be talking about them. And then from there we're going to, talk about what I played, how the rounds went, stuff like that. As you can see, we have Mahali, aka Connor, who won. Atlas, Jack, Isaiah. Shout out Jack, local Bellingham boy, one of the Lost Boys, as we call ourselves. We don't call ourselves that. Anyway, he made top four. Super proud of the man. And then we scroll down and you see that I got 11th. Just barely missed it. It's my own fault. I'm happy I didn't make it. I played garbage for two of the rounds. And I should have won those games, which we're going to get into. But other than that, great tournament. Everyone is smiling. Great games. It wasn't a turbo hell like people thought it was going to be, and it wasn't a super adjustment to the turbo hell. It was right in between. There was like control, mid range, turbo, aggro stacks. Even there was a uh, Arden and Tana deck, and that was awesome. They played a turn two rule law on multiple occasions. It was awesome to see. With that being said, we're going to start. So, obviously, Jack got third, so we got to shout him out. We're going to look at his deck a little bit. Top Deck just released this new thing where it gives you a visual image whenever you open a deck list, which I think is super sick. He was on Blue Farm. I'm calling the deck Blue Garden because there's Ludovic and he's my goat. But yeah, it's pretty standard like Blue Farm list. Some interesting cards in here if we ever see any of them. It's like a pretty typical list. We're on Flare because we're on Ludovic. That's one of the reasons we're on Ludovic. Same with Luis's Sacrifice, Frenchman's Sacrifice. Jack said this card was insane for him over the weekend, and he's thinking about going up Fairy Mastermind and Flare Denial to increase the amount of blue creatures and then more counter spells. Cards he said he might cut for him were like an offer you can't refuse, and then the a 2-drop bounce spell, whatever its name is. I'm not seeing it in the list. Anyway, he snapback was the card he was thinking about cutting. Oh, it's not in the list because during the list he was on Glasses of Urza, but he was on snapback for today's tournament. But yeah, pretty standard. He's on Necro Adnaz, which previously he was on a more creature heavy list, so he wasn't on Adnaz or Necro. He's on the Mirror Maid, as we see. Land base is pretty normal. Orchard's interesting because you give someone a spirit, but you can just be smart and play around it to avoid your Timnas. And then he said Cavern of Souls, insane card. He did say weirdly though that during the tournament that Ranger Captain got countered through a Cavern of Souls, but then when he raw dogged a Ranger Captain with no Cavern, making it uncounterable, both of times that he did that, they resolved. So maybe it's a bad card. It's definitely not. You should play it. But yeah, shout out to Jack for getting third at a tournament, which is kind of funny because he also, in the Invitational, we'll talk about it shortly, it was a 2-round event, 16 players. They all played a game. Whoever won that went to the finals. Me and Jack got paired in the finals. Not in the finals, but in the top 16 matches. And he won. I lost. I was playing Fibblefip. He was playing Blue Farm. We'll talk about the game a little bit later after I'm done talking about this current tournament. So back to CDH 14 Send. It's summer. I was on Fibblefip. I've been working on the deck. I just finished rewriting the primer after the bans. I'll put a link to it in the description, obviously. But I was really, really happy and impressed with the deck. Definitely going to continue playing it. I love the deck. It was consistently putting in wins. I got 2 wins. I went 2-3. Yeah, 2-3. I personally feel like I should have been 3-2 or 4-1, which I think was definitely doable with how my matches played out, which we're going to get into. But yeah, super proud of the list. Here's the list. I'll talk about some of the standout cards. I was on Sacrifice for this tournament. Not sure if I actually liked the card, but I wanted to cut 3 cards, and I had 2 cards I wanted to slot in. So I put it in just to be like, okay, I'm going to try it. It's another Stifle effect. I think I personally want to just play Stifle over it, but we'll figure that out throughout the next couple weeks. Artifacts. The deck is mainly artifacts. 28 artifacts. Insane. One of the cards I added, there's Manifold Key and Voltaic Key. I added Voltaic Key because I was like, maybe 1 is all I really need. 2 is the number. 2 is insane for this deck. Super happy I went to 2. And then the only other card that I really want to talk about is Repurposing Bay. Repurposing Bay put in work. I was in my primer. I even talk about how I don't know if it's good enough. It's good enough. It single-handedly won me a game, and then in the invitational round, it almost won me that game as well. Unfortunately, Jack was in my pod, and he's played against Fibblefip enough to know what's actually in the deck. There was an opportunity. I'll talk about it later, but there was an opportunity for me to get Repurposing Bay. We'll activate it, sacking my Mana Vault to go get Defense Grid to have a protected win. But he knew that, and he used his Sacrifice to counter it, which I had to protect. And then I told him I'm not going to get Defense Grid because he was just going to continue to use Interaction. Yeah, we'll get into it in a little bit. So this is the deck I played, Fibblefip, my deck. Yeah, you can see 2-3. Let's get into the actual rounds now. So back here, we'll go to pairings. Round 1. We'll look me up. Baileyton. I wrote a ton of notes this tournament, which is awesome. So going first was Sawyer on TNT, me on Fibblefip, Peter on Naya Minsk, not Minsk-Imbu, just Minsk, the Naya Minsk. And then fourth was Akiri Thrasios. What I have here is we lost to TNT through the Hazel Brewmaster combo, where they exile Devoted Druid to make infinite mana to draw their deck through Thrasios. This is a game that we punted. The table did. And the Thras, Akiri player could have courted Court of Calling on the TNT's turn in response to a Grand Abolisher. It wasn't Grand Abolisher, it was the new one. Voice of Victory, that's the name. To get Spellseeker. Spellseeker will tutor for Silence, then we can cast Silence to stop the win attempt. But the table missed it. And then before the Thrasios Akiri player's turn, I could have bounced the Enduring Vitality to turn the TNT player off by 5 mana. But they had a Grand Abolisher out, so I let them go to their turn. And the idea was I was going to do it on their end step, but they had a Grand Abolisher, in which I couldn't do it. We removed one of the pieces. Oh, we bounced the Voice of Victory so we could interact with it, hopefully, and cut them on mana. And then we go to pass the turn during the TNT player's upkeep. I still could have used the bounce spell to bounce the Enduring Vitality to shut them off of 5 mana and only had them have 2 mana if they want to recast it. Like net 2 mana, which would have made it so they couldn't go off. But I didn't. So we had like 3 outs to the game, and we took 0 of them and lost the game, which is on us. We're 0-1. Round 2. We have, let me turn the page. Andrew, who was on Tassiger. And then we have Kinnan, and then me on Fibblefip, and then we have an Atali. In my notes, I have Portcullis carried the game. I say this because it was a turn 2, turn 3 Portcullis. And the Atali player cast Atali into the Portcullis, I think 4 times, exiling it. So he was always able to recast the Atali, which is broken. I played some, I think it was a Ristic Study, and some artifacts to start grinding value, like the Mystic Forge. I was losing a life to exile the top card. I had a Codex Shredder to mill cards to find relevant cards. Then the Atali player cast Atali and flipped a Con Sphinx. And he obviously cast a Con Sphinx. It gets exiled under the Portcullis. And then on a later cast of the Atali, he flips a Sink into Stupor, targeting the Portcullis to bounce it, to give the Kitten player back the Portcullis, not the Portcullis, the Con Sphinx, the Tassiger player OBM, and then the Atali back, because he let it get exiled by the Portcullis. Let the Atali to get the Atali back. I go to counter it because, of course, I'm going to counter the thing that's going to let him get another Atali and let a Con Sphinx resolve. It makes the most sense to me. The Kinnan player decides to counter the Sink into Stupor. I'm out of counter spells I can cast or want to cast at that time. So the Sink into Stupor happens. Portcullis gets bounced to my hand, and then let me get a drink of water real quick. So Portcullis gets bounced. Kinnan gets now Kinnan and Con Sphinx with enough to activate the Kinnan to start spinning. Atali triggers again. Gets nothing super relevant. I draw 1 or 2 cards. OBM comes out. And then I get attacked by a reanimated Hordling Broodlord. So I go down to like 23 life because I had 2 counters on it, I think. I got attacked a lot. And then I get attacked by the OBM from the Tassiger. The Tassiger does some Toxtrol shenanigans with Shifting Woodlands. Before his turn, before the Tassiger passage, Kinnan spins, and hits a Void Winnower, which I had a protected win on my turn, but I couldn't get there with the Void Winnower out. It goes to the Kinnan's turn. He has the Con Sphinx Void Winnower, and he attacks 15 at me. The Kinnan's now dead because of the OBM. He attacks 15 at me. I obviously take it to the face. I go down from 23 to 8. I go to draw for turn. Con Sphinx trigger shoots me for 2 with the OBM, down to 6. I believe I draw another card somehow. I don't remember how I drew a card. Oh, I think I fed a Ristic or a Mystic, which drew the Con Sphinx another cards because I'm down to 6 life now. And then I know I cast an extra turn spell here. And I cast an extra turn spell. It resolves on the following turn. I draw a card. Con Sphinx player draws 2. I take 2 damage, going down to 4. I exile the top card of my library with a Mystic Forge. Cast an extra turn spell. So with the extra turn spell resolved, I put a Amphibian Downpour on the stack with Storm trigger of 1. So I'll get an additional copy. Original targeting Con Sphinx. The copy resolves, also targeting Con Sphinx. Con Sphinx is now gone. I go into the next turn. I exile the top card of my library, going down to 2. I cast an extra turn spell. It resolves. I go untap, draw, cast Expropriate. It resolves. I get a total of 3 extra turns, and I get to steal something. I steal a Mana Vault. a manifold key, so I can untap my vaults or Grimmonoliths, whatever I need at the time. With those 3 extra turns, I'm able to War of Invention for a defense grid, and then once the defense grid resolves, I'm able to Isochron Scepter Rev combo, getting infinite mana, infinite untaps, mill my opponents out, dig through my library for Aetherflux Reservoir, cast infinite spells, kill the table. So that was a clean win. We're 1-1. Round 3. Forest is on Terra, 5-color Turbo. There's me, and going second. We have Gabriel on Prosper, and then Sean on Magda. Love every player at this table. Love them to death. In my notes, it says 1 on turn 3. Terra had Necro on turn 2. But we used a little bit of interaction, and she used a Pact of Negation on turn 2 with the Necro. I think it was protecting a Valley Flood Caller, if I'm not mistaken. And then, she had a Pact trigger. I had a fish, I think turn 1 or 2. I think it was a turn 1 fish. It was a turn 1 fish. And I kept on ramping with Mishra's Workshop, Felwar Stone, stuff like that. Magda plays Magda, attacks, prospered. Thought he could do a turn 1 Adnaz with Ancient Tomb LED, but you have to crack the LED and get the mana before you can put a spell in the stack. Forest goes to her turn, and then attempts to win by Mystical Tutoring for a spell to put it on top to have a combo. Goes to put a draw spell on the stack, and then we call a Judge over and put a Pact of Negation back on the stack because she never paid for it. She then calling the weeks the Valley Flood Caller to be able to pay for it. This is on her Final Fortune turn, I should say. And she didn't have enough steam to continue after paying for the pack. She was close though. She probably gets there if she remembers the pack trigger and then just combos on top of it. But that didn't happen. So I go into my turn with like 22 cards in hand, and I'm able to piece together a Dramatic Scepter win into an Aetherflux Reservoir, kill the table. So we're 2-1. I'm feeling good, smiling, getting hyped. I'm like, okay, I need a draw, make top 10. We're living the dream. Round 4. All right. It was me, Connor, who won the tournament on Zolodok. Yeah, colorless deck. Kale was on Vial Smasher Malcolm, and Adam was on Kinnan. It's a pretty back and forth game. We're all doing some stuff. I'm definitely in the lead, but we're all doing stuff. Kinnan's able to start. Was gonna be able to start spinning, but then there was a Grafdigger's Cage, and then a Troper Orb. So all the ETBs and anything entering from the library or casting from the library couldn't happen, which is gonna come up. Let me tell you. Anyway, I have the One Ring, and I'm able to start drawing a bunch of cards because I have a bunch of untappers. So I start doing that. I draw a bunch of cards. Connor doesn't like that. Connor decides that maybe we start hitting the guy with the one ring, which is completely fair. I got the One Ring off of a turn 3 Tezzeret. I get hit by 12 by Connor, and then I'm slowly getting chipped away by the other people. By the time it's my turn, after the One Ring damage, I'm at 16 life. At this point, I'm like, Connor just kills me on his turn. I think I'm legally required to jam here. And I'm able to. I have like 92 cards in hand. It's not really 92. It's probably like 16, 17. I cast an extra turn spell. I cast Seagate Restoration, going up to 35 cards. Maybe I don't even think I cast an extra turn spell. I go up to like 35, 36, 37 cards. A large amount of cards. Anyway, I'm able to piece together a win, but I made a misplay because the win I went for was a Mystic Forge line, which if you don't know, you draw cards with Senses Binding top and cast it off the top of your library for free and find Aetherflux Reservoir to kill the table. If you notice, I said cast the top from the top of my library. There's a Grafdigger's Cage. I had a Chain of Vapor that I used to get enough mana to do all this. Instead of bouncing the cage, I bounced the Cicada, which is fine. And then instead of deciding to play my Isochron Scepter dramatic reversal line, I decide it's fine. Let me just pay 1 mana for this defense grid. It resolves. No one had any interaction anyway, which I knew. So instead of winning the game, because there was no interaction, I decided to play a piece that allows it so they can't interact, even though there was no interaction. I go to do the line, and I'm like, oh wait, Grafdigger's Cage makes it so I can't win the game here, and I can't bounce it without you flashing it back in. Shit. So I look through my deck, and I'm like, is there any way I can stop Connor? Any way I can do anything here? There's not. I had Dramatic Scepter, and I had the Dramatic Reversal Isochron Scepter line in my hand. Decided against it because I wanted to do the cool line. It bit me in the butt. Connor untaps, kills 2 players, leaves the Kinnan player who can't do anything because of the Grafdigger's Cage and the Torpor Orb. Then kills him on the following turn. GG, Connor. I'll get you one day. So, yeah. Round 1, easy mistakes. If I knew how to interact, I would have won. Round 4, I punted. That's what it is. It happens. I'm so mad about it. I learned from it. We live. Round 5. This was a non-game for me, if we're being realistic. I went third. It was Atali, me, Marnius, and Cheshire Kenrith. I went down to 5 cards. I kept an MBT so we don't just lose to Atali. And then my land was an Ancient Tomb. And I kept a Staff in the hand. So my idea was I'll draw a blue source, cast Fibblefip turn 2, cast the Staff turn 3, or vice versa. Don't die to the Atali. And then slowly progress my game plan with Proteus Staff activations with Fibblefip. I didn't draw a land for 5 turns. The game went to like turn 10 before Isaiah, who was on Marnius, had a Voice of Victory out for like 6 turns and then was able to present a Hullbreaker Horror combo to draw the deck by making tokens, and then we died. So that's where my tournament ends. 2 terrible misplays in games where I probably should have won the game, and then a non-game. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the results, if I'm being real. When I posted the deck list into different Discords, I was like, I'm hoping to go 5 draws, 0 losses, 0 wins, 5 draws. That clearly didn't happen, but I was proud of the deck because it did its thing. Top 10, obviously, I'm not in. Top 4, I'm not in. Now let's get to the Invitational. It was a $100 entry fee. The top 4 players of the last 3 tournaments, got invited to it. And then it was 4 players from the community. Typically, I think it was mainly Team CDH players, which is awesome. Paid my $100. Drove down with Jack. Jack drove. God bless. My car is something else, so I'm glad that he's willing to give me rides. Anyway, so we're there. We got our names written on piece of papers, thrown into a literal box. We get the names drawn 1 by 1 for each pod, and then we draw lands to decide who goes first, second, third, or fourth. First pod was a fire pod. Me and Jack didn't get called. We're like, okay, this is fine. As long as we're not in the same pod, we're chilling. Second pod, it goes Forest. Awesome. We love Forest. 5-color Terra Turbo. Bailey Tutton. And I'm like, okay, Jack, this is my time to shine. We got this. We got this. And then it goes Jack Hall. We both look at each other, slap our faces, and then start smiling because, of course, the 2 Bellingham boys in the same pod. We hate to see it. And then let me go back to round 3. And then it was like Sean fight 3 for silver pod of pod 4 of round 3 pod 4 were there. Same pod. This game went Sean going first, me going second, Forrest going third, Jack going fourth. Magda has a turn 1 dork. I have a turn 1 workshop, Felwar Stone, Gemstone Caverns because I was going second, cast Fibble Fip, draw a card. Easy peasy. And then we have maybe it was a turn 1 Magda. It was a turn 1 Magda. We have Forrest go fetch for Imperial Seal, cast Imperial Seal, pass. Jack does nothing crazy if I'm remembering correctly. I think it was just 2 lands, basically 2 lands. Land, Mox Diamond, I think, pass the turn. Magda goes attack with Magda towards the turbo deck, get a treasure, play a land, Blood Moon. At this point, I'm like, okay, I have an island in hand. I have this repurposing bay. I can play through this. We just have to hold up interaction. And I go, okay, this is fine. Let me just untap, play repurposing bay. I have 2 pieces of interaction, so I pass the turn. Forrest goes, okay, Mana Vault, pass. Maybe it was a turn 3. It was definitely a turn 3 Blood Moon, now that I think about it. It doesn't really matter. Jack develops his game plan for just a little bit more. There's a Blood Moon. Yeah, it was definitely turn 3 because Forrest goes before her turn 2, Mystical Tutor for an Atnos. And then the turn 2 play was Mana Vault, presenting an Atnos on the following turn. Jack's like, oh no, plays a turn 2 Rhystic Study. On Magda's turn 3, there's the Blood Moon. I already have the repurposing bay and stuff out. I'm like, oh, okay. I have a Felwar Stone that doesn't do anything. So I sack it to go get the Proteus Staff. I know the Magda player is going to have a ton of ways to get rid of it. And Jack probably has a way to stop me from doing it. So I tell the table, hey, I'm going to go get a 0 mana rock and a sacrifice to stop the Magda player. They all agree. I go get that, put a land on top of my library. Pass. There's now a Blood Moon on the table, so Forrest is out of the water. Jack develops a little bit more. Magda goes up to 6 treasures, I think it is at this point, and passes. I'm like, okay. It was only 4 treasures at this time. My apologies. I don't remember the game super well. But I go, okay, let me activate the bay, sacking the 0-drop artifact, go find mine, Mana Vault to present a defense grid on the following turn. Forrest, still dead in the water, does nothing. Jack plays Ludovic, passes. And I think DRC, then passes, since everything are mountains. Those are easy to cast. Magda goes, attack, go up to 6 treasures. Go to my turn. I go, okay, I'm going to float a colorless with the Mana Vault and activate Bay, sacking the vault. Forrest goes, yeah, I'm out of this game. Pass. Jack goes, yeah, I'm probably, oh, wait. Are you getting defense grid? I was. And I said, I don't know what I'm getting. So he sacrifices Ludovic to stifle my ability. And I'm like, shit, he knows my game plan. I swan song his stifle. And I tell him I'm not getting defense grid because he's just going to continue to push, and we just lose to Magda on the spot then. So I say I'm not getting defense grid. And he's like, okay, I'm fine with it then. I then go get a Mana Vault, being like, okay, I can most definitely present something next turn by getting a Trinisphere and taking extra turns over and over and over. We don't get a next turn. Jack stops me. And then before I'm able to do anything, Magda decides to activate, go get Lifecraft Engine, and then Jack gets to untap and win the game with Thassa's Oracle, Chain Impact. We made a misplay towards the end. We didn't know Jack had 3 pieces of interaction. We had 2 pieces of interaction. Well, 3 pieces of interaction, but he had enough protection for it. So we lose to Jack. So Jack was in money, which is awesome. At least one of the Bellingham boys made it. But it was a great game. I wish Forrest got to play the game, because when she gets to pop off and Jack has to respect the turbo player going off, I have a better chance to find a window. But that's how the weekend went. Super happy. Everyone was excited. It was a great weekend. I have a few changes to Fibble Flip I'm going to make. Obviously, it'll be updated in the primer. I might make a video about it, might not. Anyway, that's really it for today. I just wanted to talk about the tournament. It was a great time. Shout out to Marcus. Shout out to everyone, really. We got to play Tiny Wieners in between rounds towards the end when Jack was in top 4. Me and Cameron. Shout out Cameron, who's on Watch. And then, yeah, so we played Tiny Leaders, Canlanders, stuff like that. It was a great time. Definitely excited to do it again. Next tournament that me, Jack, and most likely Cameron are going to is 7/12, the 12th of July. There's one in Tacoma, Mindful Games. It's supported, sponsored, hosted by CEDH, which should be fun. It's a 3K. If you can make it, you should try making it. I might leave the link in the description. I don't know if it's posted yet. But yeah, thank you guys. Talk to you later.